This is just to amend the current program,
Okay.
the 2018 to 2023, and it's adding a number of projects
Okay.
that were not on the original, that have to be on it to get our funding obligated.
Okay.
The first one we're adding is is priority 3, which is, that's a countywide guardrail upgrade project. Since we've lost a lot of guardrail and we can't get anybody to help us put it back,
Right.
we're just going to obligate some STP money, so federal highways, to, and the projects that were identified under this were identified last year under a safety assessment,
Okay.
which we didn't get funded, so we're just taking that list of 10 locations and funding them under the STP. The next change is priority 9, which is the Florida Creek culvert replacement, and that was just a changing of the estimate. It had already been adopted, but we changed the number.
Okay.
The second change is on priority 10, the Kettle River Road HMA overlay, and we're changing, the title is staying the same, but we're changing that from a 2-inch overlay to just a rehabilitation with blade patch, crack seal, and chip seals, since the mine's not going to use that. Priority 11 is a new project, Kiwanis Beach Bridge. And it's cleaning and painting. And that's the same for number 12, which is the Boulder Creek Bridge. So cleaning and painting. The next change is priority 16, which is the Deadman Creek Road Slide that we put on the 6 year, so that if we get FEMA money, it's on the 6 year.
Okay.
It helps. But currently it's funded with local funds only. Priority 17 is the Inchelium Highway rehabilitation. It's on the north end of the Inchelium Highway. This is a wrap project that we've submitted that it has to be on the 6 year before the end of the year, so we can submit a final perspective for crowdfunding. Priority 18 is a similar project on the Klondike. It goes from the Republic city limits out to the West Curly Lake. And it's a, we call it a 2R project. It's pre-level crack sealing and chip seal. That's the same as the Inchelium project. They're called 2Rs because it's just rehabilitation. And that is all the changes that we're making. But to get them on, we need to make an amendment to the
Okay,
what we're
so
here for.
we need a motion to make an amendment for the 6-year plan?
Make a motion to amend the 6-year transportation improvement program as stated.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the 6-year transportation improvement plan as stated. Any more discussion? So clarification is there have been, as stated, additional projects. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Thanks, Bob.
One note, this list that I gave you does not include all of our projects that are on the list. I don't know why yet. I'm
Okay.
still learning this project program. But the original that we did back in late 17 has all the projects on it that are currently funded, and then it's just these changes and new ones.
Paradise
That will
Cove
be
still on
added.
this?
Huh?
Paradise Cove still on this?
Oh yeah, it's still in there. I'm not sure why some of them didn't show up. I looked in the
Okay.
program that the state maintains, and they're all still there. I haven't figured out why they don't print when I print it. No. But they're all still there.
Right.
We'll just add it so we get funding for them.
Thank you. So, are we done? Did you have anything to add? Okay, so we're gonna,
Is there any comments from the public before we close the hearing?
Probably not during this hearing, but I came down with the idea of trying to find out a little bit what's going on with the repair for Customs Road, given the damage that was done out there. Maybe that's afterwards, I don't know.
That's not
That would be
part of
something
here.
for update.
Yeah, that'll be just more of an update right now.
Okay,
Yeah,
should I talk to you privately then after the hearing?
that'd probably be best, yeah, yeah. It doesn't matter, I'm gonna give these guys the same update I'll give you, so, yeah.
So
Are
there's
you gonna do it
no-
right now?
In a
having
minute, yeah, yeah,
Perfect. I'm sit tight then.
yeah.
no further comment on the public hearing, we'll close the public hearing at 1:09 on May 29th, 2018.
I'm up,
You're up.
all right. So we got a little housekeeping to do first. You can see we got the crusher foreman job
Did
description.
they do the resolution for that? This would be amending, this
Oh.
is the resolution for amending
Okay.
that 6-year plan. Did you guys make a motion?
We had a motion to approve, but we didn't do it by,
Because so here's the resolution.
okay.
It's number 30. The problem with it is Jonna's name isn't spelled right on there.
We can get it corrected and bring it back.
Okay, I already called over. I'm just trying to
Oh,
get an
okay.
electronic copy so I can just edit it and give you guys,
You got your comments.
but
Okay,
it's not. So I got hold of Will, I couldn't get hold of her.
okay.
And so I don't know what you guys want to do, but that's the problem with it.
So can we make a motion to sign off on it and then sign it after we get the corrected
Yeah,
copy?
you can.
Okay.
Okay.
It's Resolution 2018-30.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve resolution 2018-30.
Amendment to the 6-year plan.
Amendment to the 6-year plan. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so what we have first is, we have it's the crusher foreman, maintenance worker crusher foreman, and these are just housekeeping. We're trying to go through all our files, all our job descriptions, and make sure they're current, and
Right.
some we can't even find for some reason, and so we went back and are trying to rectify that now.
So we need these signed off too.
I think so, yes.
Do we need a motion on this?
Make a motion to approve the Public Works Department job description for maintenance worker / crusher foreman.
Second that.
Has been moved and seconded to approve the maintenance worker / crusher foreman job description. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Got it.
Got it? Thank you.
You guys already made a resolution, or a motion for that, just the signatures?
Not including
I'll make a motion to approve the
Oh, it's not.
Ferry
okay.
job description
Thank you.
for maintenance worker.
So this is just for the two
Top
top
that.
candidates.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the job description for Public Works for maintenance worker. All those in favor?
Let's see, but the list.
They're coming with, on the intro.
Let's see what your signature is. Passed on, please.
And this one here is just the maintenance worker one,
Okay,
and not the foreman.
all right, so that's the one Mike just.
Yeah, and it's just more cleanup. It's not really cleanup, it's just making sure all the words are spelled correctly and that kind of stuff.
Consistent
So we
with
can be a little more
times, right?
professional at times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that part of the job description?
Mine?
Anybody's.
Yeah, somebody's, yes.
Hopefully it goes without saying.
Yes.
Well, I know. You're learning as you go.
Okay, and these next three, the first one here is the person we'd like to hire to fill in or to hire full-time for the curlew maintenance position. And his name is Justin March? Or
March.
March,
Oh,
yeah. So,
okay.
and, yeah.
So,
I think he starts like the June 4th is the day he starts.
we get a motion on this, I guess.
Make a motion to approve Justin March for the crew,
Curlew, correct, yes.
crew job maintenance position.
Second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept Justin March for the current position. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And then we have one here, and this is for the insulin position, and a maintenance position, and this is Billy Evans, William Evans. We actually had two positions in Curlew, and a guy transferred from Republic to Curlew,
Oh,
because he
okay.
was living up there anyway, and so,
It's always nice when the person is closer to the shop
Yes,
for
it is.
response time.
yeah.
Because of those on-call days, you just need to be there.
Yeah, well, and it's a long drive, yeah,
Yeah?
yeah. So we will have a position, there is a position open in Republic now. So we'll fill that one hopefully by the end of next week, so.
It's nice when you have good applicants that we can just,
Yeah, we're getting some good applicants now, so that's
Awesome.
nice, yeah.
Is there a motion to approve?
Yeah. This position
motion to approve the hiring of William Evans.
William Evans. That's Barry's son,
Okay.
but he lives down there in Gillette.
And I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the hiring of William Evans for Liam Shop. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And the last hire is for our bookkeeper office support position, and that is Paige Richardson.
Thanks for all the paperwork.
You're welcome. I figured you guys didn't have a lot to do.
You know how it is.
I like to watch Jennifer's face every time I get that stamp.
It's like a bomb going off
I know,
right
you
here.
need one earplug.
So I'll make a motion to approve Paige Richardson, hiring for Public Works bookkeeper office support.
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded to accept Paige Richardson for bookkeeper office support for Public Works. More discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
On the side note, this is something that I need to let all the other departments know. I've been in contact with Rural Resources, and I think Paige is going to qualify for a lot of training at their expense for us. And that's something they do for a lot of companies. And luckily, I got her under just in time to,
Okay.
I talked to Rural Resources, and so they're going to, yeah, you know, if she wants to do a college class or something like that, like a bookkeeping, something, you know, because this is an entry-level position, but we can advance her pretty fast if we can get her into some classes. So, yeah, so that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you already had a conversation a little bit like walked in about the rock cut bridge. I don't know if Bob told you, but we have a meeting Thursday morning with Kovich,
Nichols Kovich, the
Nichols
engineer.
Kovich, the bridge engineers,
Stevens.
Budinger Geotech, and Stevens County Thursday morning at the bridge. So Bob will be out of the district, but Will and I will go and meet with them. Stevens County, I think, is, right now they're taking the lead on it, which is awesome. They have actually a couple not a geotech, they have a couple engineer techs that are going every day and checking on the bridge,
Oh, okay.
so.
Good.
But, and they're already in contact also with hopefully some funding sources, but you know how that's slow motion.
And they are restricting the bridge for the engineers,
So
consultants
Yeah.
requirement.
Yeah, we put up temporary signs this weekend, and then they are going to put up more permanent signs. They're having the signs made, that's at 15 miles an hour and
Okay.
10 tons maximum. But, and then today we have a meeting at 2 with the geotech engineers, 2 and 3:30, 2 groups.
Two groups, the two on the short list for the Inchlium and Lower Cache Creek.
Okay.
They're gonna make their presentations and we'll choose between those two and start negotiations.
you got just one, or is there more than one done presentation?
There's two consultants on the short list, and they're 2 to 3, and then 3:30 to 4:30.
Okay.
We selected Budinger and Century West for the Deadman Creek slide. And since Century West is one of the participants this afternoon, Budinger is coming with them as their sub-consultant, and they'll be bringing their proposal for the Deadman Creek. So we'll get a look at that.
So we'll get closer to an answer there.
We'll get them, once we finalize, negotiate that out, get a contract, then they can start working on, figure out what we need to do.
Out of their work, we'll know about what we're supposed to have to do and the estimated cost to do it.
Yeah, they'll,
Okay.
and they'll have a timeline as to how long they think it's gonna take them to do the exploration, evaluation.
Let's slip back to the bridge issue just a little bit. Have they looked, in their inspections, did they look at Laurier?
They haven't said anything,
Okay.
so I'm assuming that it's fine. They did, all the bridges in Stevens County, including the 5 that we share, were inspected in March. As the pictures, they have one, the first set, this top picture is a picture taken in March
That's right.
when they
I
inspected.
followed that pretty well. And because of the proximity, there's the bridge at Orient. And I think that's mostly pretty heavy rock. Might be some issue on this side, but I think the river pushes the other way, so maybe we're okay.
Yeah, I'm sure that they've been looking with
Looking at
the
those.
one at the rock cut showing some degradation. I'm sure they're looking at them all.
Napoleon would probably be one that would be problematic because as the lake comes up, it covers itself back up.
Yeah.
And then, on customs, we went out and, measured the roads. Right now, Will is actually working on those calculations to figure out, you know, how much rock it's gonna take, you know, and the bad part is if we just put gravel on it again, and the river comes up, that gravel's gone again. So, you know, I don't have a dollars amount yet, just because there's places it needs to come up 2 feet, you know. I shouldn't say we, the maintenance foreman up there, Will Beadle, actually went out when the water was at its highest and walked down in a lot of those road places where the water was, you know, there was places it was a foot over the top of the road. So that means our road has to go up 2 feet there, you know, just to
Right.
be safe. But it was for quite a distance. And so it's gonna, we have to put a Band-Aid on it, or we have to fix it. And right now, we have zero funding for that. It's out of road department money if we fix it. But I'll have a number by the end of the week on what it's gonna cost.
I'm sure I told you before, but I'll tell you again. There is some RAC funding coming up from Title II dollars, and I don't know if that'll help you maybe relieve pressure on one project where you could use those as opposed to, I'm sure it won't qualify for customs, but you've got other areas that maybe it would qualify, and you take that money and move it down for customs. But you've got more about your budget than I do, so.
And the pay part of customs too, you know, there's a problem there where it's sloughed, you know, and there will probably maybe be money for that because it's an 07 road. An 09, there's just not money for 09 roads unless you
Or even 08,
are 08,
which is
yeah.
what custom is.
Do you guys have the backup documentation for
So
the
if you have other questions, yeah.
transportation plan?
No question, but a comment. I read in the paper the other day that the Wildlife Department was giving you an exemption for so many days to do your hydraulic permit applications without having to get a permit.
Yeah.
You gotta grab that real quick.
We already have, yeah, we have all that, thank you though, that's, yeah. Sandy's really good to work, yeah, yeah.
And the other issue, of course, is we were in there, we were trapped for 12 days, and we were kind of 5 miles up there in that
Okay.
ranch area, that Okanagan Ranch, no, River Ranch.
Okay.
That was a big
Yeah,
thing.
I know where it is, yeah.
Okay.
DOT came
On
out,
the
water
downriver
was
side of
down,
that, about 1 acre to 1 foot.
Oh, did it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was up,
that was,
Really?
yeah, in fact, I can tell you where it was, where the high water was.
Okay.
And it wouldn't be necessary to bring it up. I think we're probably looking at a 500-year event, that's my guess. And if you got up to the 100-year floodplain and provided a foot of tree board above that, you'd probably be all right, you could probably get in and out most years. So we were trapped for 12 days. basically.
Oh.
And I know the neighbor, reason I'm down here is the neighbors want to know what's going on, so
Uh-huh.
I volunteered to come down.
Yeah.
And so I think, we had people out of work and for that length of time. So anyway, it's.
Feel free to call me at any time, you know.
Yeah, I'd like to visit with you a little bit more about something.
Absolutely, yeah.
so I had a question, this is 2017 flooding. Have you had a chance to look through what Amy's put together for submission?
I
of
haven't
this?
seen it yet,
Okay,
yeah.
Well,
So
you
no, I
haven't signed
haven't.
off
You
on
haven't
it.
signed off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're probably the next person it's gonna go to.
Okay.
yeah, so we'll let you look through it, and I think
Okay.
it's a submission, and hopefully we can get some funding to
Okay.
help out on that project.
Yeah, so, you take that with me or get my own copy from me?
It depends on,
Probably.
We'll let the boss decide.
yeah.
Good call.
Placeholder, or, oh, they're not signing it. She's gonna have to sign it right here.
He's supposed to jump on that.
No, but it hasn't been signed yet. Oh, it hasn't. By our board, yes, so it would be in consent, so.
Yeah,
Just wait a second.
all right. Holding still.
Will you sign those, at least our copies, those two that you didn't sign yet? If we were supposed to sign those.
She talked about the job description?
These are the descriptions that we actually have the employee sign.
Right,
So the employee signs that.
right.
Yeah.
He doesn't sign that, Jen. It's for the employee.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. It just said public works, so.
Right.
So you want,
Yeah, to the best of my ability.
Harvard.
Some of it's hard to answer.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
I took a look at it and said, well, I think we're gonna know.
Yeah.
I think the guy knows.
I'm gonna wait for the papers.
All right. Thanks, Bob.
So they looked at all the bridges down besides Rock Creek? Because I was wondering about the buildings.
They, Stevens County is sending engineer techs out every day,
Okay.
and they're looking at it, yes,
So
yeah.
that's the concern, is just Rock.
Yeah, and they're the one that actually saw it when they went out and said, we have some scour in there. And so then they called Kovich and Nichols and Kovich and had them come up and do a full assessment. And the reason Wayne, who is the director engineer over there, we were talking and there already occurring cost to this, so they said they would just kind of take the lead on this for now, so they can, all the costs can be from one county as of now. And then we'll make a better decision maybe Thursday morning when we have a meeting out there this.
Okay.
That's the plan anyway, as of now.
This is the original, and that's where you'll need to sign.
Okay, awesome. All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
What's this? In front of the telephone. It's fast.
It looks like it.
Is there an issue with the 3 o'clock?
She's coming in to talk to you and give you guys the opportunity to ask the questions you might want to know, because she called and asked me what you guys wanted to know regarding that easement that I showed you guys. And
She said the form looks good to her, but she doesn't know exactly what you might be looking for it to say. So,
I think we just run it by her because it's something we thought we should do with any legal document.
yeah, right, and that's kind of what I told her.
but sometimes she doesn't know what to look for, like, if you specifically wanted to say something that it doesn't, or, you know.
Just so happens that we take it home.
No wonder I couldn't find it. Son of a gun. Back nabbit. Here.
Hey, it's mine.
I'll make you a copy, Mike.
No,
You know how-
just hang on to
Do
it.
you know how long I looked for this? I thought I gave her the original, and I could not find the copy. No, I didn't think to ask, because I, of course, don't think Nathan would put it in his backpack, Jono would shred it, or Mike would keep it in his desk. I would think that you would give me the document.
I just did.
Man. Those will be your last, those will be your nicknames. Shredder, backpack, and desk.
So,
Or your truck, I guess.
you're gonna pay for that, you know. I'm going home and clean out my basement. I'm gonna bring it here to you. So you know you have all the papers I've taken
Man,
for the last 16 years.
I don't think I need that.
And my wife has been threatening me anyway. Because it's time to clean out the house.
Brad used to take everything home too. He would come back, he'd say, oh, I don't have that, and then come back home later after, sorry, I still had it at home. This is for the 3 o'clock.
Yes, it's for the 3 o'clock.
Brad used to take everything home, and swore he didn't help.
I know, and then he'd bring it back all
A
sheepishly.
couple weeks later
Here.
laughing.
Yeah.
I did
Here, I did take it home.
Well, if he isn't very coy, he should have brought it over here and laid it.
Yeah,
And I
just,
said, hey, well,
look,
look what you're looking
it was
for.
right here.
No,
Yeah.
he would just be laughing. Sorry.
Yeah, he'd just bring it in. It was kind of funny. Depends on how many hours we spent looking for it, but I think that how funny it was. What? When was that?
It's next, it's a 4.
But it's what time?
Oh,
It's at
1:30, yeah.
Anything we can move on?
Want me to call Jean Brewer to see if she could come sooner?
If she can't, we might call Mike.
Hi, Jean. This is Amanda. Hi. We are ahead of schedule and we are wondering if you'd want to come over now and talk about what you wanted to talk about instead of at 3:30. That would be so wonderful. All right, we'll see you very soon. Bye. Sure.
Okay.
You guys just want to leave early.
I can't imagine why. It's gonna rain.
Is it going to rain?
Looks like it.
It's supposed to be tomorrow.
Stop breaking
Is
my
it
heart.
tomorrow?
Yeah, but it could be sooner than they say, but they were calling for it tomorrow.
I'm fine with that. It did not rain while we were camping. I'm fine with that.
Well, at least this weekend we'll have the cabin on the lake, so, siblings won't get wet.
My tractor's still hooked to the disc. It can rain and wash all the dust off of it.
The Todd said they just had a tornado touchdown in Elko. They were far enough away just to get rain and wind.
All the rain that we've had in the last week or so. In that field, the dust just flew. I couldn't even see where it was going. I kind of
Isn't it funny how powdery it is?
This is, you don't even want to walk in this field. I've worked it up so much now. It's just like a little sand bed. It's kind of sandy soil to start with. Debating to go over it one more time with the cultivator. And hopefully pick it that's wet. Calms it down.
And gets it all ready for the seeds.
Yeah, it's got so much quietgrass in it. We worked it hard for 3 years.
You need to put something in there that you're gonna till back under to fertilize.
Yeah.
Just do a plot under here.
Sweet clover they like to do too. Because it puts nitrogen back.
That's what you need. You've depleted the soil. They say you shouldn't grow a crop in a field more than 3 years without putting back into that crop, into that field.
This one hadn't been farmed for 15 years when I planted the oats first time. But I know it's short. It's got a couple things it needs. I found when we moved into the place, my wife's grandpa really bought boron. Put it in. So it must have been something we thought was needed. We found a little couple bags of it in the shed.
Doesn't sound good.
It's quiet.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you for coming early.
Gosh, way ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
Going up to the front.
Action.
Okay, well, through my whole new computer system project, we found that I didn't have some connection that I didn't have, that I didn't get upgraded. And so, I've got this is actually from Daryl, keeping in contact with TechLine, or actually, what is it now? Konica Minolta is my imaging, that's doing my imaging system now. And apparently, originally, this XML web service that I need connection was supposed to be like $6,995, but they discounted it to $2,000, and then with an annual support of $1,399. So I would need, out of the trial court improvement money, $3,400 about to make this all where I can get going on Sunday, June 3rd, when we have to come in and work and get everything kind of going on our new system. I spoke with Chris and she talked to Tom. He didn't have a problem with it. I talked to Judge Monosmith. He seemed to be okay with it. I did send him an email, both judges an email, and I haven't heard anything back from them saying that they're opposed to it. I kind of have to do it. So I'm hoping that that's something that you guys will be okay with. I did, because I was kind of questioning that it took so long, you know, with us getting so close to the end of this, that now all of a sudden they're saying, oh, well, you need this. And so when I talked to John at Visconica Minolta, he said that it's a problem that I never licensed with the Liberty web server that is needed for this option, and said that they've known for quite a while, but he went and pled our case for a couple of months ago to get a discount because of our situation in our county, and so apparently he just found out that they were going to do that, give us a discounted quote on that.
And what is it exactly?
It says it is a, where is it? XML web service. And like I said, this is the email that I got from Daryl. Would you guys want that maybe to?
I can.
Yeah, because he just kind of gave me a copy and then So, but he also does say that once we have the licensing in place, you'll be eligible to receive the same web server licensing and on-base at no cost when you convert over. So I don't have to pay later for it.
Does this come with any hardware, or is it just the service? Not sure.
You'd have to ask Daryl that, I guess.
Well, at least they gave us a discount,
Mm-hmm.
a heavy one.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. One of the other things that they've said is that because I have this and it's been with this company for a long time with, Liberty, and it's going to be on base eventually. There are a lot of other entities that use it, and that they'd be willing to come and do a free demo for any other of the offices or whatever. That I know from time to time people change, you know, and so they had mentioned before that they'd be willing to give like a free demonstration of what the capabilities are of on-base. And on-base is getting used more and more. In fact, the Department of Corrections uses it, and the Court of Appeals use it. Actually, the Supreme Court, and then I think the 3 Court of Appeals all use on-base. So it just might be something to look at in the future if anybody is looking to change. And they've been really good. We've been with them, you know, for a long time. They have changed kind of their companies. They were Eagle Services or something at first, and then went to Techline, and now they've merged with Visconica Minolta. But it's a bigger company, and so they said that they can offer way more resources to us.
So what will be the annual? service
No,
in the
according
future?
to this, he says, unless that is the annual there, the $13.99, that I'm paying, right now I'm paying more than that on my current. And they did say that when I did convert over the on-base, it would be less expensive. But he says once the licensing's in place, he'll be eligible to receive the same web server licensing and on-base at no
So if it
cost.
says incremental, maybe they prorated it
Yeah.
or not.
Like I said, hopefully Daryl knows a little bit more about
Yeah.
There's not a lot of meat in there, is there?
it. No.
I mean, typically they have the hardware, but they're also getting into the business side of things.
Yeah, I should have actually tried to catch Daryl to see if he could come and answer any other questions you guys might have, but.
You want us to call him real quick?
Do you have any questions?
No,
I
I'm
don't
fine
know.
with that.
Okay.
If this is what it takes to get you up and running, you just gotta do it.
I know, unfortunately, it is. I don't really want to do this, but they're making me, so.
A lot of that goes on in the world today.
Yes, it does,
We knew when we did the change, there's always little things here and there.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to think of everything.
Yeah, well, it's a big change and everybody, you know, this whole, I said we have to come in on Sunday to work. That includes everybody in my office and Daryl too,
It's a full change.
to do the whole thing. And so, but they're, we'll keep track of the hours and they reimburse any overtime. So we'll get that.
Cool.
It's still rough.
I know.
Yeah.
It's still rough.
So I'll make a motion to use trial court improvement funds to pay for the XML web services upgrade, I guess, because it kind of is.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to do what Nathan said.
XML web services upgrade.
Okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Almost pains.
Almost. Yeah.
So do you want to call me back for the thing, or are you good? Are you good? Okay, she's good.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you.
All right.
Let Mike know.
You guys are just trying to get out of here.
No, in-laws were up from Oregon and heading back tomorrow. Child was trying to get something together this afternoon.
Commissioner's office. Hi, is Mike and Mary there? perhaps?
Yeah. I only see him once or twice a year usually, if not.
Thank you. Hi, Mike. I am calling to see if you're available to come in early because we are ahead of the schedule on the agenda. Perfect, so then come on over as soon as you can. Thank you. Bye-bye. You're welcome.
We're just waiting.
You are welcome.
This time.
I know.
Oh, man, I'll be in time today.
What? She's coming. Oh, she's not. Oh, she is on today.
Who is?
Katie, I forgot about Katie. I thought that was our last person.
No.
Okay.
We can call her and have her come in.
We will. I thought we had it covered.
Well, today's the new, or no, it isn't. It's Mondays. But maybe they moved court.
Yeah.
Actually, I haven't checked. You need to
Kind of
mail this,
Monday,
Mike?
but
It's kind of,
Huh?
It needs to go in the mailbox?
it's
Yeah.
confused.
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't checked the mail today.
I want it hand delivered. So wherever
You- you
Cornell
Has to fill the
University is.
walnut. That's what I always told my kids. But I want it. Has to fill the walnut. I like it sucks.
I have something else I tell my kids, but
Does that deal with two hands?
has to have two hands. One of them's empty. With the sensitivity in the world today, you can't do that. You can't make those kind of statements. You know, it used to be everybody would laugh it off, but now somebody's always looking for something to whine about. God, I love it. You got a few shortcuts on the front of that screen.
And I clean them up once in a while.
Yeah. I don't even use them. If I had that many, it'd take me an hour just to figure out which one it was I was looking for.
Depends on what project I'm working on. And then I put them on, I have a backup server and all this and that. Then I got 4 or 5 computers too, so. That's juggling a lot of different things all the time.
Had had a discussion the other day about, well, I got one computer at home, I don't even know what the password is, so I can't get into it now.
Oh, okay.
I got
Is it a Windows 10?
no, it's actually a 7, I think. And apparently the 7, the guy at the computer store says he thinks it's the backboard.
Yeah, I get in or whatever. Sometimes I have to, just 'cause of whatever.
It's my table, it's my PC, so. And I really don't have it, when I got the new one, I downloaded everything that way, so the new one's got it on it.
You can get like a thumb drive or a DVD set. When it loads up, you boot it to that, and you reset your admin password. And then reset it again after that. The harder ones were when I was working with Daryl, and we actually had to crack the passwords for some of the deputies way back then, or no, it's jail. There's some stuff that was going on in the jail that we needed to get into the documents, and so we set up 2 or 3 computers in the back, and they would just run passwords days. And some of them we ran almost 3 weeks, just trying to
Well, like
break a
the-
file.
Like the new passwords, you have to have a capital, you have to have a number, you have to have a symbol.
Yeah. 8 characters.
Yeah.
I've already got a copy of this, but I had some questions.
Yes, me.
I gotta read them because it's been a while since I was getting ready to study what I wrote before I come up, but.
Were you doing that survey, Nathan?
Mhm.
That's all you're doing? Okay.
Yeah.
Is Mary
So,
coming?
Joe, you received-
She's actually making some copies, but she will be upset. Yeah.
This is for Mary.
Okay.
Came to us
It's already
a
fallen
while
off
ago.
with you, Mike.
Really?
Should get that filled out.
This for next week.
Okay.
Just for you guys if you want.
interesting to see where the problem is.
Good, how are you doing? I was like, do I really want it for a little?
Exactly. Mine, I just did a quick thing because I put copies of everybody else's fees because they charge for every little tiny thing. Like, so these are how we charge. When you look at like, especially Ponderay and Okanagan, well, it's this much unless you have, it's more work or if it, you know, and then,
Oh, right.
you know, so. And then some of the fees are depending upon what kind of variance it is or something like that, you know. And I only compared these three counties with us because I figured they were kind of the closest to us. You know.
So these haven't been changed since '92.
The only ones that have been changed, there's a couple of them, like I think a shorelines permit might have went up, but our long plat, short plat, boundary adjustments, variances are all the same. Oh no, the boundary adjustment did go up. I'm sorry. See the checklist. This one, Okanagan, they don't even have a binding site. Like, let's see, it's like major development or intermediate or minor.
They have some pretty hefty fees.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and then see table attached. for additional fees. This is a grant agreement for June, we just got this back. You want to just make, can you make me a copy and I'll just leave it the original one?
Your own stamp.
So on here, my, cost per square foot. They raise it from 55 to 75. How does that actually work in the formula?
It's hard to explain depending on which one you use. What it is it's like the 88 UC, the one we're using now. It's like from 0 to 2,000, it's $45 plus this much per 100. The one, it'll say like, it's really hard to break it down because it's
building an extra big house and it's over the number, the plus another 100 for.
Yeah, I should have brought the actual 88 scheduled so I could kind of show you how to do one, but you tally up the total and then you apply it to this table and it'll say like from 50 to 100,000, it's 414 for the first 50,000 plus $4.50 a thousand for the rest, and so you just multiply all that up. And that's how I come to these fees.
Okay.
And the 70, I never have known if it would make more sense to try to use the values, the actual values published. They publish a few of them though. I don't know if you look at that table, but we basically have basements, residence, or main floor and outbuildings. We don't have things for decks and things like that, but we're so far off on our cost per square foot. It's like 120, 130 locally, and we're going to bump up to 75. So I don't know if it would make more sense to use those values more accurately and alter our schedule somehow. Schedules are kind of nice that they make them up because they're very complicated to make it all break where they break them, if you know what I mean there. Matter of fact, when I started, we had it all printed out like Okanagan County does. If you go to Okanagan County with the value, you can just follow down to the value between, say, whatever it is, 300 or whatever, and it'll tell you what it was. I still have a copy of ours in the office when it went from like 96,000 on page 2 to 97. It bumped $2.50 between 95 and 96. From 96 to 97, it bumped $75, then back to 2. It was a page break. Don't ask me. There was no logic to it, but that's the way we did it. But anyway, yeah, I'm not sure what opened any input or whatever you guys want to. And it's even hard to know. I suppose I could have, in this particular example, it was like a 40% increase, I think I said, something like that. But I'm not sure that would hold true across the board. You know, if we were to tell, I'm not obviously going to sit down and try to figure every permit for last year or whatever,
Right,
but
to break it out.
it might be 30%, it might be 45. I'm not quite exactly sure where it would land. This one project, though, I was shocked to find out what our neighbors are charging. Though, I mean, we're under 1,000, and Okanagan's at 3,300, and Ponderay's at 26, and I think Stevens is around that 2,000 there too, or they used to be. They just break theirs into 500, under 500, and then over 500 additions, and houses less than 500, and then houses over 500. But it was like 22 or something, I think. It was quite a bit more. It's not broken down online anymore like it used to be. But we're well down the list, and I'm sure we're down for not only locally but for the whole state. I'm sure we're probably the lowest still.
Mhm. And I didn't give you guys a bit like what I propose the prices to be, you know, because I understand we're not going to be able to, you know, we just can't charge like everybody else. I mean, that's, you know, not going to happen, but, you know, at least bump it up. Some of them 50, some, you know what I mean? Like, those other counties charge just to come out and look at your property. They charge you a flat fee plus so much an hour if they're out there over so many hours. So, I mean, they're like...
Plan reviews.
Yes, exactly. They charge for plan reviews, even when you do a short plat and stuff, there's also an additional fee for mapping. So...
Personally, I think we do need to revisit some of it.
Mm-hmm. And again, as you
It's
saw,
been
most of them
quite a
haven't
few
been
years.
since '92.
Yeah, I think mine were 2,000 the last, if I'm not mistaken, the last time building permit fees were raised, and that was on that bulk. Last time we did it the same way. Last time we did it as a percentage, and then an increase, and an increase with a single vote, or whatever. Trouble is, everybody else ups them too. Or you know what I mean? We're trying to catch up, and then if we check it in 9 years after this one expires, they've probably raised more than we did.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so it's hard to. I don't know. It seems I still get sticker shock at the original fee, what we're paying now. Or you know what I mean? That's nothing. $1,000 ain't nothing to sneeze at either. So everybody else is collecting 2 or 3. So
It comes down, we're kind of in survival mode in a lot of areas with our budgets and stuff, and we just can't keep headed that way either, just for making ends meet. The one idea each year for what, 9 years?
it would. What I think it was going to be, we would go up. We would change our values to the new values. You know, bump up from 55 to 75, and those things I've listed there. And then we would use 65% of the 97 UBC. And in 3 years, in 21, we'd use 82.5%, and then in 24, from 24 to 27, we'd use 100% of that. And then that would be the time we'd have to revisit it, or that would be the time this vote expired. Yeah, we do the 88 now, and I'm proposing to go to the 97. I believe, I think, maybe I might have miswrote it, but that's what I'm.
Oh, we use 88 now.
Yeah, we use 88 now, and I'm hoping to, or I was proposing to go to.
Oh, it's on this page.
And if you look at the second page there, that spreadsheet, you can see that the fee right now, that example house, we take in $966. I don't know why I printed these out of the order, but in 3 years we would take in. Actually, that's not true. That was just the. Let me see here. I'm reading the wrong column. We would actually take in 1406 if we were to change. And if we did 70, just using my numbers there, we would be at $1,406 for that example house. And if we were to go to 65% of the UBC, we'd be at $1,438. So that's pretty close to me. I think we could do that. And then that would put us, that would run until 21. And then from 21 to 24, that same house would be 1826. And then the last 3 years would be 2213. And even after that, we would still be 400 less than what Monterey charges now, and a little over 1,000 less than what Okanagan charges now. And that's in 9 years.
So currently, 2,300 less in Okanagan and 1,600.
Yeah, Okanagan was, I will admit, Okanagan's,
Monterey currently,
I'm sorry?
just currently where that.
Oh,
that big a
Okanagan, I will
deficit.
admit though, they had a couple of different options, and I chose the most high value ones in every case. They had a good construction, average construction. And I think they had another thing that you could pick from. So I did kind of fudge to the higher one, but I'm not sure how the building inspector before construction can say whether it's good or average.
Right.
Sit back down and work these out again and see what it's been long enough I can't remember exactly what it's all fresh in my mind when I did this, but. Yeah, now the new book, they don't even give you, they don't even have anything on fees in them. It's just shall be set at the administrative authorities, whatever. But they don't give you an example or. Put together one of the charts had to do with housing permits for Ferry County. Okay.
It's kind of interesting to see over time from the 80s to where we're at. And you've seen an increase this year.
This year we have seen a drastic increase.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I think Kate counted them. We've issued more residential permits to this day than we did all last year. So we're doing good on them. We've got 5 or 6 more that people that I've talked to. So. But next year could be. We don't tend to follow any. When people are ready to build, they build. It doesn't seem like we tie it to anything federally or the stock market. Just when we're ready out here. The joke is we're always so broke. We just we're always in recession. You just build when you're ready. But yeah, I don't know.
thoughts? It's a tough one.
No,
I mean,
I've had the same feeling all along. It's private property, I should be able to build on mine, I shouldn't have to pay you to do it. And I know that isn't the way the world works, but that's just my philosophy, my life and my beliefs. I took a 12% increase in my property taxes this year. And now you're gonna come back and want me to pay more to build on the property you taxed me for before? I don't think it's right. I think we've got to come up with a different system.
Well, the fees that we charge now for planning anyway, no way to cover my costs for work at all.
I know,
Yeah.
but we can up it, it still won't cover the cost of the planning department. And the impact by, if you did away with it, would be nominal to the county. This isn't an issue of county support or county funding. And no fault to anybody. I'm not bad-mouthing anybody in this process. To do comparisons between us and Okanagan or Ponderay or Stevens, there's so many circumstances that don't balance in those comparisons. Our county's net worth is a little over 500 million. Go to either one of those counties and see what their net worth is. And this, in my opinion, raising the fees, I don't know that it will actually detour anybody from building, but it sure won't improve them wanting to build. And that's what we're trying to encourage, is some growth. So in some areas, we're already tougher on growth and development than Stevens County and Ponderay. I don't know. I shouldn't say Ponderay because I haven't done the comparisons there, but I know in Stevens County, some things you can do there a lot easier. Like agricultural buildings, pole buildings, they don't charge. Or if they do, it's so nominal, it's like not charging. You can do owner-builder for a very nominal fee and build your own home. In Stevens County, we don't offer that. Something I thought we should look at.
We actually did years ago, and the reason they were able to, at least what they told us, is they did that pre-71. And so they were able to alter the...
grandfathered in.
Yeah, it's grandfathered, and we looked into it clear back when Buck was here in the early 90s, and the state, it's actually written up, if you alter the residential code locally, you've got to get state approval, and they're not ever going to approve that at this day and age.
Yeah.
Or at least in my opinion, they won't.
Well, as long as it continues to drive revenue their way, it
Yeah.
will stay that way.
They can do the chart.
But,
the type of people moving in Stevens, Ponderay, they have more opportunity for business and for people coming to go to work. We have more people moving in that are retired.
Retirees.
Yeah.
And I think one of them,
It would be interesting to look at who is applying for construction,
That's,
residential construction. Are they outsiders coming here with a pocket full of change, as opposed to the local people, the local families?
I think that's probably more the case. They're going to come in and retire and order someplace else.
And yet I understand, Mike, why you have building codes. And the guy that struck me the strongest with that, because I've never been in favor of it, is you should be able to build what you want, was a guy who was volunteer fireman. Says, if I gotta get up on the roof, I wanna know what's gonna hold me up. Because he didn't want to be in the middle of the fire, and that's the only excuse I've ever heard given. I watched Eric Weatherman. You know where this story goes. Eric fought with the Park Service, and they said, no, you gotta go to the county building. And yet with federal government, federal lands, they don't get permits from us. They look at us and laugh. We don't have to. So we sent Eric back, built without a permit. And he did so. Hired his own inspector, got his house done. It cost him an extra $100,000 by the time he got done because of the delays in the process. There's a lot of flaws out there, but in that particular case, you can build a house, you can hire your own inspector, if you see fit. The difference with having Mike or our building department look at it or regulate it, then the banks are covered because they know it's been done right and that. Same thing with the septic system, blah, blah, blah. But if you don't have that in place, you probably aren't gonna borrow bank money, you're not gonna sell it without that disclosure. But those are all options that people should have, and we don't give it to them. And that was one of the things when I ran for election the first time. I had preached this same stuff in my service station, and that's when I was told to put up or shut up. So here I am, and it's my obligation, I believe, to decline any increases where I can. So it's going to fall back on you two. I'll tell you right now, because it's DOA with Mike.
So if it doesn't cover your costs, then how far in arrears are you running in your budget?
I'd have to look at that. I can't tell you that off the top of my head because I don't want to give you a wrong number, you know.
Yeah, but you're going backwards.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we're putting out more than we're bringing in, yes.
Right.
Mhm.
Which affects the budget.
Mhm.
If you look at your budget, you can see that pretty clearly when you go to planning's budget. You'll see that the expenditures
revenues
are way higher than the
versus-
revenues in for it. And that's revenues from even outside of other sources coming in. But then the same applies to the assessor or the auditor or any of those offices. It isn't revenues generated by them that keep them going. And the hardest part of all of this is the state makes a rule that says you gotta do this, this, and this, and then they make you pay to make sure you're doing it.
For the privilege.
I've never understood that either. You call the cops or the fire department or anybody else and we come running, but we call planning or building and have your checkbook ready.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, here back when Sweetland was here, we looked at doing it as a levy, and you can't do that. You can't collect anything other than taxes to the assessor. But I would much prefer to pay $1 a lot or something. I mean, there's a bunch of lots we could fund that through a levy that way, and then instead of having to reach in and bring out $1,500 every time I want to build something. You know, I would much prefer that to just have pay a little more tax even if I never built, I'd prefer that. I really would. But we tried it, and at least at that time to the assessor, we couldn't do that. But the idea was to fund the department, but not on building permit fees. You know, it would have been everybody chips in, kind of like a fire district or whatever.
Or the weed board.
Yeah, something similar to that. Where when you need a permit, one thing that would do too, it would do away with the unpermitted buildings. We wouldn't have near the shacks out there. If people would come in, they're buying the same material. If they come in and talk to us, they wouldn't be building the shacks that they're building. So there's a lot of benefit to that, but we didn't get any traction when we looked into it.
Well, I kind of wonder if that's part of the design of the process. Not dictated by us, but by others.
Yeah, well, I think probably if we were allowed to start taxing levies onto all this, you know, what would our taxes be, you know, too? So I think maybe that's why they don't allow it to go through the assessor, all this stuff, because easy to just keep layering it on and everybody pays $1, but pretty quick there's a lot of dollars.
I think by constitution, there's only so much per thousand that can be charged.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was, but I know it had to be just based on the value. It couldn't be any other funding of it too.
You got like any commercial buildings?
No, the only thing we've got is one little project in Edgeland going up, and it's what's that
The
rose?
Rose Garden?
Rose Garden, yeah, it's like a healing, some kind of a wellness center, healing deal.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
it's a private entity doing
Yeah,
it.
I've heard of that.
Yeah.
They're putting in.
If it goes, we'll see. We're having a little bit of a fight with the tribe now on a different project. The one I think I emailed you guys about, the one down there for Johnson's. Pete called today. There's been some issues. I don't know what the issues were, but they've stopped the job, and she wants to be the lead. And the way I read that, it's clearly they can come through us. So it looks like we're going to arbitration. She was going to get her attorney, and I was going to write ours. So we'll see what happens. But they have no, like I told Mary, they've chosen, the Johnsons have chosen the tribe like the dog chooses his tick. They've had no choice. This is, they've came through us from day one. I talked to them for a year, referred them to the tribe to see if they could build in this remote area, because it is a remote, and the answers aren't always the same.
In a special use area.
Yeah, and then they require them to fill out a form and say, oh, you've chosen to go through us. Well, they didn't choose to go through them. They wanted to go through me. I have email backing it up. Pete also has emails that do it, and she's hanging everything on this jumping agency to agency. Well, that would be fine if they were running from some requirement, but they're not. They're trying to choose an entity.
Right.
It's one thing if I say, okay, you got to have solid gold anchor bolts, and the tribe says, no, we're okay with lead. That's agency jumping. That isn't
Right,
the case
right.
here. We haven't had any of that.
Because that hasn't even started yet. You're just
No.
trying to figure out which path. to
Yeah,
take.
and see, I told Pete too on the phone. I said, hey Pete, if Angie would call me right now and say, hey, I'm done with the fight, I don't want to mess with it, while we're ready to go to the tribe, I would release that in a second. Why can't you? Why can't you? It's that document clearly says that people are supposed to choose, not the government entities, and we need some backup. You know what I mean? We're gonna have to fight this one. This is we're in the right. I mean, they came to us, referred them to them. They basically required them to fill out a form that they didn't even have ownership of the property yet. All, in my opinion, politically to gain upper hand in this agreement.
This is Angie Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
I got my call today.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I actually asked her,
Yeah,
so
because as
she
soon
called
as
you.
he got off the phone with Mike, she called her and told her, that's it, you're done, you're not doing anything.
That was the point. She kept going on about these violations they'd made, and I said, that's fine. You guys enforce
That's your violation.
your conditional use permit. They've not done any building. They've not even applied for a building permit yet. You can't. Basically, what they've done, in my opinion, is condition number 1 of the conditional use permit. You're going through us for everything. That's the condition. That's not the spirit. What's that?
Fee land?
It's fee land, yeah. It's a remote chunk of fee land, and they want to live off grid, so there's no power, no nothing there. And a lot of the tribe, if you look at the map, there's not one residential zone in Ferry County. It's all special requirement. Well, special requirement requires a conditional use permit in every case. So every time if you're looking to buy land down there, and I tell you to go to the tribe, they make you fill out this conditional use permit. Once you do, they say, oh, you chose to go through the tribe. So everything now goes through the tribe.
Yeah.
We talked to Pete.
Yeah.
So I told Pete, I said, so the way you read that, in 10 years, they go to do a garage. They'd have to go through you. She says, no, that'd be a different project. Well, what's the difference? They haven't applied for a building permit through you yet. You know what I mean? They've applied to us for a building permit, not you. Another thing, every meeting I've been in, I told Pete this, I've never once heard anybody walk into our office in my 28 years there and say, is this where you come for a land use permit? Is this where you come for a building permit? Every meeting we've had has been with them. Once the planners are okay with it, you can pick your building department. That's the gist of this agreement since day one.
Right.
That's not what they're doing on the first. We've had 2 projects down there since the agreement that I'm aware of. They're trying for the lead on both. So it just doesn't seem the spirit of it to me one bit. And
They're not allowing.
and I live there. I don't like to be the one fighting all. You know what I mean? To me, it's I've not had any trouble. I live there by choice. I love it there. But my job is the building, not this land use. Fight it out with the planners.
Right.
Someone else needs to start doing that.
Well, I did a land use review.
Well, I'm not saying you, but
No,
I mean,
but
when
I'm
it gets to
saying-
this level,
But she wouldn't say yes or no. Like, I could look at our GIS and say, well, there's nothing there that's gonna prevent you from building.
that's
She
another
said,
thing.
I can't do that until they fill out the application.
Well, another thing too,
Yes, so once they fill out the application, then, oh, you've already filled this out, so now you come through us.
then their
We
conditional
give
use
people the
permits.
leniency to choose. They're stipulating what the choice is.
Yes.
This is right back to where it was in about 95, 96.
Yeah, that
So
seems to
they're
me.
requiring a conditional use permit to even, to fill out the application for a conditional use before you even own the property. And then that gives her the right to say, oh, now
Locks
you
you
have to
in,
come
yeah,
through
at
us
that
now.
point.
And this is why in about 98, the county opted out of their agreement
Mhm.
with the tribe.
Mhm.
And maybe we need to send a letter to that
Well, I was gonna send,
degree saying, hey, if you're gonna continue down this path, you leave us with no option.
well, I don't think it's a spirited agreement to do a conditional use